Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and we're going to get in to this whole money mindset thing and decode it, strip it down so that it lands right between your eyes, exactly where you need it to be in order for you to stop blocking that abundance that I know you want. And you sit there going, God, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing? When you see other people who are selling out their programs, they seem to be making money so easily. All these things keep clicking for them, and it seems so damn hard for you, and you just can't figure it out. That's exactly where I was. It's a terrible feeling. And especially when you know, like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at what I do. I'd like to think I'm a fairly intelligent person. I'm very open and willing to take an honest look at myself. I've done personal development work, and something still isn't clicking. Well, first thing is this. If you have not taken my money quiz for what is holding you back from making money, it's free. It's at the top of my website at ProjectMeWithTiffany.com. You need to take it. We spent a lot of time on this quiz. It's been up there for quite some time, and thousands of people have taken it at this point, and it's been dead on accurate for every person who's taken it. So go there, ProjectMeWithTiffany.com. It's right at the top of the page, and it'll say, what is holding you back from making money? Take quiz. Just click the button, and it is right there, because this will give you some great insight on what you need to focus on, and it will help you move the needle, and is a great pairing with this episode that we're doing today, which is you don't have money problems. You have mindset problems. A lot of you think it's the strategy that you're missing. There's some secret sauce. Maybe that there's even something that these successful online entrepreneurs, brick and mortar entrepreneurs, product-based entrepreneurs, realtors, accountants, whatever, something secret that they're doing that they're just not willing to share. And then your mind gets even crazier. Mine does too, where it's like, okay, you try to decode and reverse engineer their stuff. Well, and then you make up stories. Well, they probably have a rich husband, or, oh, they're friends with so-and-so. So that person shouts them out all the time, and that's how they get business. Or, oh, they're super pretty, or she has a great body, or he's so charismatic and emphatic and has been in all these publications. So that's why. And some of the things that you're noticing when you're studying successful people, and I want you to study people. I want you to study people who you would love to have a version of their life or a version of their wealth. That's fantastic. I'd rather you study them than study some broke ass. So I want you to study them, but just be aware that your mind makes up stuff and you're making assumptions and you don't know that to be true. But some of the things are true, right? I mean, I know quite a few people in the online space who have friends who have a huge, massive following, and they shout them out all the time. And they refer them a lot of business. So yeah, they have a leg up in that way. But we all have a leg up. Some people, it's that you have a trust fund. Some people, it's that you don't have to make a ton of money to maintain your lifestyle because your significant other already makes a good amount of money. It could be a leg up that you are someone who has been featured in publications. Maybe it was for something different, but you have had that press and that notoriety, or maybe it's your credentials. Maybe you have a PhD. Maybe you are a doctor We all have a leg up, and some of you listening are going, well, I don't have one. We all do. We all have a leg up. One of mine is that I am an excellent communicator. I am able to take very complex topics and break them down, make them easy so that they resonate with you guys. So you can actually know how to do something and keep it very simple and straightforward. But I also had to really double down on that skill. I wasn't just born like that. I was actually incredibly shy, believe it or not, and didn't talk much. So I got into acting, and then I really wanted to be a broadcast journalist. And so I kept refining my public speaking skills. And then I went to a top college for that. And I just kept refining those skills. But I did have a natural talent for that. You haven't, some of you, your natural talent is that you're big picture thinkers, your level of compassion, your intuition, your empathy. We all have some kind of a leg up. Trust me, after coaching more than 1,500 people privately and over 150,000 people in group settings, everyone has something that comes a little more naturally or more easy. Maybe tech doesn't stress you out. That's a leg up. Maybe you have a knack for creating great graphics or content. Maybe you're just such a solid practitioner of whatever it is that you do. But you can't be good at all the things. And these people who you see are so successful and raking in all the millions like myself, that doesn't mean I know what the hell I'm doing in all areas. I know what the hell I'm doing in the areas that I'm gifted in and that I am meant to share with the world. And then I hire other people who are fantastic in these other things. So I just want to put that in your brain of be careful when you are studying other people who have a version of what you want, that you're not making up stories that will keep you stuck. Now, if you're coming up with things like, oh, well, I've noticed this, I've noticed that, and they're facts, that's studying. If you are coming up with assumptions and stories, that's judgment. And that's going to just keep you right where you're at, and it's not going to get you anywhere. A lot of people make a lot of assumptions about me, that I was already wealthy, that I'm engaged to someone who's wealthy, that all of this just comes easy for me, that I'm just a naturally confident person. There are a lot of things that people make assumptions about me, which is why I always like making sure I tell you guys, like, that is not facts. Some of the things are facts, but I had to work damn hard at it. Damn hard. And I'm also naturally lazy. I am self-coined the laziest business coach you will ever meet. And that doesn't mean I don't show up regardless, but I always try to find the easier way. I always believe there's an easier way. There's a more straightforward way, which is the benefit of working with me. Because I have someone who's lazy has definitely figured out the workarounds and the hacks. Now, some things I've tried for a workaround because I was being lazy and it bit me in the ass, because sometimes there just aren't workarounds to things that work. So it has screwed me too. But you're mind fucking yourself out of making major cash, and we're going to fix it. The tricky thing here is 90% of what's blocking you from having the success, money, freedom, and options you desire are happening subconsciously. So when you're sitting there with like your head in the palms of your hand going, what in the hell am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? You're never going to get a clear answer. Our minds are so complex because they're weaved with like childhood trauma, limiting beliefs, generational stories, influence from decades of societal programming, even government conditioning. So for you to unfuck your own mind all by yourself, it's impossible. So that's one thing that you're doing innocently and maybe stubbornly and maybe being a cheap ass, is you're trying to really heal and shift your mindset and belief system with money. You're trying to do it on your own, and it's not working. And you know it's not working, and that's because it's not possible. You can make some headway. I'm not saying you can't make some headway by listening to like this podcast, taking the money quiz I mentioned, reading books. You can make some headway, but it's you're not going to be able to fully transform it. So let yourself off the hook. You aren't meant to unscramble this complex brain of yours on your own, because it is designed to protect you and keep you comfortable at all costs. Even if that cost is, it's costing you money, it's costing you freedom, it's costing you your sanity, it's costing you your energy, your health. It is going to do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable. So let me give an example. Walking on eggshells in a relationship is such a familiar thing to me that I can go years without fully realizing the pain and suffering it's causing me, because it's just so familiar and ingrained from childhood. So that deeply ingrained belief that I have to work my ass off to have major success is so sneaky. That is also a belief I got from childhood and witnessed it. So even after 15 years of deep inner work on it, having multiple coaches, even having a private manifestation, law of attraction, spiritual guru that I saw multiple times a week, okay? That's the level of work I'm talking here. Invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in this. Even though I've done all of that, I will naturally fall back into a state of pushing, forcing, and grinding without even catching myself until I'm suffering major consequences of it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I got caught up in that loop again. So the way that I prevent myself from falling into that or staying into it for too long is I make sure I have regular accountability. So I always have a coach. I have a tight inner circle where it's safe for us to call each other out with love and hold each other accountable. But people can only hold you accountable as willing as you are to be vulnerable and transparent about your stuff. And I'm very willing. Otherwise, you know what will happen? I fall into this and it's not caught. It will cost me hard cash. My launches won't go well. You'll see my investment accounts, my over 20 passive income streams all start going down. It is a direct correlation to how I'm thinking, believing, and behaving when it comes to money and abundance. And you guys are doing the same thing. So you want to think, oh, well, no one else in my family has made this kind of money. Maybe it's just not for me. Your brain starts coming up with crazy stuff of why you can't have it. And it's bullshit. I need you to start focusing on what is possible for you. So when you look at people, whether it's online or real life, who have a version of what you have, instead of using that to shame yourself or using that to feel defeated because it feels so far away and so far out of reach, I want you to go, well, there's evidence that that's possible for me. And as some of the people you look at, it doesn't seem possible for you because they're projecting themselves to be super perfect, have all their shit together, that it's like so easy that it almost seems like bullshit. Well, if you can't trust it, those aren't people I want you to look to for evidence, because the likelihood is if they're making it sound too good to be true, guess what? It is. It is. This is not like, oh, I just sit on the couch all day, lounging, drinking my coffee and eating carbs, and magically all these things occur. No, I have set up lots of systems that are in place. I have many passive streams of income that have been managed and have been working for years that allow me to luxuriate. But I had to start with having one, and not all of them work, by the way. Newsflash, not everything we touch turns to gold, no matter how long you've been doing this, no matter if you're the person who teaches the damn thing. It doesn't matter. Not everything you create is going to turn to gold. There's going to be things that don't miss the mark. There's going to be fluctuations, which is why I'm all about having multiple streams of income so you're not just dependent on one. That is the mind fuckery of depending on one job for your money. And the system is designed around that so that you will just be dependent on that one place to get your insurance benefits or to get retirement benefits or to get your paycheck. Now you're beholden to them. Now you're trapped. Now it's hard to see a way out. And then you're working so hard at that damn prime profession that the thought of starting a business on the side, you're like, where am I going to get the time and energy to do it? Then your brain starts wildness into going, God, I should have started this when I was younger, when I had more energy. I should have done this before I had kids. I should have started this before. I should have started this when I first thought about it. And that is another way to shame yourself and another way for your brain to keep you safe, stuck, and comfortable. Because when I say comfortable, because I know you're going, well, girl, I'm not comfortable. I'm miserable where I'm at. This doesn't feel good. This is really uncomfortable. But you're comfortable with being uncomfortable in this particular area. Like I use the example of me walking on eggshells in a relationship. Not comfortable for me at all. I am now so much more in tune with my body. I can feel that it's like I'm being, plugged into a light socket. There's like a low-key buzzing anxiety all the time. Okay, I can even feel that, but that is so familiar with me that I have a high tolerance for the intolerable. And I know for sure you have a high tolerance for the intolerable. You have a high tolerance for the uncomfortable when it comes to certain things in your life. You're so used to being in debt that that's more familiar to you than you being out of debt. You're so used to trading your time for money and working your ass off that not doing that is so foreign, feels so out of reach, it's uncomfortable for you, even though you want it. You having a conventional job doesn't jive with you, doesn't light you up, doesn't inspire you. You're not into it anymore, or maybe never were. But that's what you know, so it's familiar. So doing something where you're working from your phone or working from your couch or working in a robe and never having to go into a workspace, that is foreign and unfamiliar to you. So your brain will resist it in so many clever and cunning ways. This is not just from my own experience. Again, this is from working with thousands and thousands of people, but also there's deep science that backs this up. So typically, we don't make a major change or a major shift until we are really up against it and we are so tired of being sick and tired. That's why I always ask that for any of my programs, for my 2-month private business coaching, right, which is application only. I always want to know where someone's at. Like, what is your sense of urgency to do this now? And if there is no real sense of urgency of why now's the time, like, you just can't do this anymore. You refuse to live like this any longer. You've been miserable long enough. Enough is a fucking enough. I need help. I've waved the white flag. If you're not at that point, I'm not the person for you, because you're going to have to be ready to take action. And I shouldn't even use the word ready, because you're not going to feel ready. That's bullshit. That doesn't exist. But you're going to have to be willing to take action. You're going to have to be willing to look at some of your stuff and show up regardless. You're going to just have to know that it's not going to be perfect. You're going to be terrified and show up anyway. Because you waiting for the right time to do something, or to magically feel abundant, or to buy a crystal, or go to Sedona or inject yourself with frog serum, or thinking if I go on this magical retreat, then all of my abundance will come. I'm not saying those aren't perhaps great things to do. They're kind of extras. It's not the core work. You're doing the kind of extra icing on the cake. It's not the cake itself, right? So it's going to feel good. Those of you who like icing, my best friend Tracy, that's one of her jams, is like when she's off the rails, she can eat icing from like a jar. I fucking hate frosting. Does anyone else hate frosting? I didn't like it as a kid. I don't like it now. It's so sweet. I'm not into cupcakes. I'm down for a good piece of carrot cake, but I don't even like that frosting. I eat around it. Not a fan. Maybe that's why I'm more into like brownies and ice cream is my jam. But those of you who are into frosting or know someone is, you know what I mean? Like, you can sit there and inhale a tub of frosting, a bowl of frosting, and it tastes delicious and you get a high from it. But you're never really, you're not having the cake. Imagine going to someone's birthday party and you're in charge of bringing the cake, but all you brought was the icing. People would be like, wow, this is great. That's fantastic. It's delicious. But where's the cake, bitch? This analogy was going somewhere. I don't even know if it's one of those analogies where I'm like, either this really lands or I was off. It doesn't really matter. I just don't want your brain telling you another lie and then it sets you up for failure, where instead of you really going after the crux of where these deep subconscious beliefs come around money. Yes, there's worth tied to it, self-worth, without a doubt. There's multi-generational things that are deep in there. And that's why it requires someone else to see them, who's well trained, right? Certain things you repetitively say that you don't realize that you say. So I'm going to give a pretty damn vulnerable share right now about what I recently discovered. And I mean, it's a wow factor. And this is so you guys can see how cunning and sneaky this is, and that you can't do this alone. I would have not figured this out on my own. Even though I teach it, wasn't going to happen. So I shared with you earlier that there is a deeply ingrained belief that I witnessed growing up from my mom, and she said it all the time and she lived it, that in order to be majorly successful and make a lot of money, especially as a woman, you have to give an arm and a leg. You have to sacrifice. You have to make wild sacrifices. It has to be your number one priority. You have to show up 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and give up so much. She believes this to this day. And I don't know, she inherited it from someone. I mean, she was born in rural Michigan. Maybe it came from the farming world. Who knows? And then I inherited it. She would even say you have to damn near kill yourself if you want to be successful. Well, guess what? I did. I almost damn near killed myself because I kept working more, pushing, forcing, hustling. And guess what? I did get a payoff for it. That's what's so sneaky about these beliefs, is that we actually get payoffs for them. You don't do something repeatedly if you're not getting some form of a payoff, whether it's smoking cigarettes, whether it's stuffing your face with sugar, whether it's procrastinating, whether it's overspending, even stuff that you're aware is a limiting belief. You don't keep going back to it unless there's some payoff. So I have a long history of having payoffs for hustling, grinding, and forcing, right? In the corporate world, I would be ranked number 1 in the country in sales. So then I'd get bonuses and lavish trips. Therefore I had more money. So I got evidence of it. It came at a giant freaking cost. I was exhausted. It was the cost that I was taught growing up, right? It was that cost. I didn't really keep a relationship because I was working and traveling all the time. I was exhausted. I got some sort of sinus infection, walking pneumonia, some sort of major thing every 5 weeks that would have me laid out. I was grouchy. I was very jealous of people who seemed to have these light and easy lives, and I couldn't figure out how they were getting it without working as hard as me. I actually had like full-on jealous hatred to a former close friend of mine. I mean, she's still a friend of mine, but you know what I mean. Different seasons in life. She worked 30% about what I worked. And yeah, it was her rank. She didn't have, as many accolades as I did, but she didn't make that much less money. And she was way happier, traveling, living her best life. I was so jealous. I couldn't figure it out. And you know what my brain came up with? That's just her lot in life. She's just blessed. She had a different upbringing than you. I mean, I came up with all sorts of stuff. Because I really didn't know. And I would ask my therapist at the time. I bought all the books. I really couldn't figure it out. And it was staring at me right in the face. So I wanted to give you a little bit of that backstory so you can see how deeply ingrained that was. And that was in my 20s. So recently, I just felt really, really heavy, even though I'm here at the beach house. Here I'm at something I've had on my vision board that I did walking meditations on this exact beach. I mean, probably even hundreds of times. That is my dream, to have a beach house on this beach someday. I mean, I'm talking for many, many years. And yes, I could have afforded to have done this quite some time ago, but I had a belief that I didn't deserve it yet because I didn't work hard enough for it. That was buried in there. So now here I have it. I'm here. You know, it's 15 grand a month to be here. And I'm going, why do I feel heavy? I have the thing that I want. I did it. Why do I feel heavy? And I just put it out into the universe. And I shared with a very, trusted confidant of mine. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I don't want to be sitting in here. I felt like I was sitting in here working a lot more than normal. And yes, I'm staring at the ocean, right? But I'm like, why am I'm working more than normal? And that's not my jam. I'm all about working less and making more. What's going on? And it's tax time. It became tax time again. For those of you, who are familiar, and in the US, I know we have a lot of internationals, so it's all different, but taxes, yes. When you have a business in the US, taxes are always due. And I'm not exaggerating. There's quarterly taxes you have to pay. And then you have like your big payday right on the 15th. But if you file an extension, it goes to October 15th. So we recently just had that. A lot of business owners file extensions. That's very common in the US. So that was coming up, and my business manager's calling me, my CPA is calling me. I'm getting more and more anxiety, almost like I'm feeling like it's a bill collector. And it's not that I don't have the money to pay the taxes. In fact, I probably don't owe because I've been paying into my quarterly estimates. And I'm very responsible with all that shit. And I just felt more and more anxiety, avoiding it, causing more drama, because that's not fun for someone to have to chase me down. That's not fucking cool, right? And they're just trying to help me, and I'm paying them a shit ton of money. I mean, because I have payroll, I have all sorts of I have 2 big businesses, right? And so therefore, I'm also wasting my own money by not having these meetings and avoiding them. I avoided having meetings with my 2 main financial managers on my multiple financial investment accounts. I'm telling you guys, one for a solid year, the other straight up 3 years. If I'm calling myself out. So what the hell is that about? And you know what it came down to? Is that by me avoiding it, by me not having these meetings, by me not better managing the current large amounts of cash I have that could be making more cash, it goes back to that damn hidden belief, that buried belief of, in order to make a shit ton of money, in order to have great success, in order to make great impact on the world, in order to have all the things you want, Tiffany, you've got to suffer. You've got to grind. You've got to sacrifice time with the people you love. You've got to be exhausted. You've got to this. You've got to that. Where I had all this money sitting right in front of me. And if any of you follow the stock market whatsoever, especially in this last year, you could make a damn killing, right? So you want to know how much money I lost by not catching this? At least, I'm not kidding you, at least $500,000. Because all it would have taken was a few tweaks in these accounts for me to execute, right? Someone else executes them, but I have to tell them to. They can't just do that on my behalf. They have to get my permission. So if I just had quarterly meetings, that's it. Quarterly meetings with these 2 people and having my eye on it a little more, the combination, there would be an additional 500,000 of assets I would have. So that was the cost, and that was easy money. I didn't have to earn that money. But see, that's what happened is I slipped back into that it can't be easy. It has to be hard. So I have to continue focusing on working for the money, fresh cash, new launches, new programs, doing other things in my other company to upsell clients, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, the easy money is right fucking here. And I was literally ignoring it. And I didn't know why, but I knew I was ignoring it. And it made me feel shame, which is a familiar feeling to me. I knew that was not good. I was not being a good steward of my money. And I was in like denial about it. I really did not realize what I was doing until my body was heavy and not comfortable here. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I put it in the universe. I confided humbly to a trusted confidant, put it out in the universe, really wanting answers and willing to do what it takes, willing to hear the answer, even if it wasn't cute. And it wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. And I had that realization that very evening, got into action. Now I have meetings set. Things are handled. Can I get back? Can I restore that money? Can I get back the money that I lost and lost opportunity? Who knows? I don't know. But I have to be willing to let that go. That's the cost of not addressing your shit. But you know what? I could sit here and go, oh my God, Tiffany, you're a piece of shit. Look what you just did. You could have built another 3 safe houses with that. Blah, 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 blah. How selfish of you. And that's me going into shame. And then we don't get into action when we're into shame. And we can't serve at our best when we're into shame. And now we've just put ourselves in the lowest possible vibrating emotion there is, which is shame. So instead, I'm in acceptance. This is what I did. Not acceptable. This is the price I have to pay. I have to own it. And we're not letting that happen again. And this is what I'm going to do to be accountable so it doesn't happen again. These are the actions I'm going to take so it doesn't have to happen again. And then I took them, and not like months later. They've already been taken. Period. End of story. They've already been taken. So if this story resonated with you, so you can see, wow, I can't necessarily see what's right in my face, no matter how much. You might be a money coach. You might be a manifestation coach. You might be a mindset coach. You might be a fitness coach. I don't give a shit what you are. You might be an accountant who's in debt. And then that brings you shame. And then you're in the motion of shame. And then it causes you to be in denial and disappear and be an ostrich and put your head in the sand. So I now have accountability. I have the quarterly meetings already set. I made amends to these people, because that's bullshit that they have to chase me down. And meanwhile, I'm paying them $5,000 plus a month. That's not cool. So I made amends. I owned up to it. I made sure I talked to my coach about it, so there can be check-ins. I put in reminders in my phone that are set in the future, right? Like checking in. And I literally put money check-in. Are you ignoring your current, are you ignoring your current accounts, or are you on it, Tiffany? I literally put that in my reminders. So I have an accountability partner, a trusted accountability partner, because we all know money can be weird, right? I'm very blessed to have someone who I can have a money accountability with, both someone I pay and someone I don't, because not everyone has that, because money can be really uncomfortable and weird, especially if the person you trust doesn't make what you make, or vice versa. It gets really wonky. All right. And a lot of us were taught that it's tacky. It's not classy. It's inappropriate to go into detail talking about money, which is why I make a point of talking about it. I know it can be triggering, because a lot of people were taught like it's something you just don't talk about. Well, why the fuck not? Because if we don't talk about it, guess what's going to happen? Your brain is going to then keep it as a secret. Your secrets keep you stuck. It's going to keep these things as a secret, and then nothing's good's going to come out of it, and you're going to remain stuck. And I'm not having that on my watch. We need to talk about money. And we need to be able to have open discussions about it. And that's why I shared that with you today. That's not flattering for me to share that with you when I teach Millionaire Mindset, when I teach passive income, when I teach owning your stuff, but I'm far from perfect. This is how powerful our brains are. That's why I shared that with you. If this episode is exactly what you needed to hear and you're appreciating the show, leave a 5-star written iTunes review. If you don't know how, Google it. Put your name or Instagram handle in the review, then DM me. Let me know you left a review. It'd be great if you put a screenshot too, so we don't have to cross-reference. And I'd love to treat you to a fancy, luxuriating beverage of your choice as a way of saying thank you for showing such great gratitude and appreciation for the show. Also, don't forget, go take that money quiz. It's free. On what is blocking that abundance. It's right at the top of my website, ProjectMeWithTiffany.com. You'll see it right at the top, take quiz. This is going to really cement in some things and reveal some things after listening to this episode today. Wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.